Hey guys, this is Hitesh and welcome back to my channel. So today in this particular video, we will be going to discuss how can we fetch consecutive users in SQL. I have solved the same problem using Python as well, link of which is available in the description of this particular video. Now, let me just tell you like why this concept is important as part of data science use case. So actually this particular concept will help us to determine which users are totally engaging with our platform, right? On a day-to-day basis as well, right? So that like companies can provide more discounts or benefits to them, and thereby they can increase their revenue, right? So without wasting any time, let's get started. So as we can see, we are having like events level table. And in this particular table, we have like date, account ID, and the user information, right? So let's say if a particular user is visiting on a platform, so it's visit like date of visit, account from which like that particular user belongs to, and that user ID is getting captured in this table, right? Now as part of this particular problem, we have to basically fetch all those users who are active for three or more consecutive days basically, right? So now let me just tell you like what do we mean by consecutive days, right? So consecutive days are nothing but basically, let's say if a particular user is active or is actively visiting on a platform for, let's say, like more than 3 days, right? Continuously for more than 3 days, right? Or let's say if a particular like user had visited like yesterday, day before yesterday, and today as well. So these kind of events are basically counted as a consecutive days or consecutive events, right? So since we have to basically work on like we have to calculate days from this. So basically like we have to work on date level column over here, right? And since we have to fetch users, so we have to basically fetch user ID level details as well, right? So basically just for an interest purpose, we have to basically fetch these two columns from this particular data set, right? So for that, what I'm doing over here is I will fetch user ID, right? And apart from that, like I will fetch date as well, right? Now, since basically over here we have to calculate consecutive days, right? Consecutive days are nothing but basically those days or like those dates which like lie one after the other, right? So in order to basically fetch like consecutive dates, like there is a intelligent windows functions in SQL, which is known as lag, right? So if we use lag over here with respect to date, what we will be able to get basically previous dates of with respect to the current date, right? So yeah, and over here, basically I am using over, and with respect to user ID, I will do partition by, right? For each user, we have to fetch like previous dates. So over here, I will use partition by user ID, right? And I will do order by of what? Order by of date, right? Now can I say this thing? If I will do a difference between these two, right? Or before that, let me just quickly run this and will show you what will be the output, right? Uh, One sec. Okay, it was events. Okay. So now let me just run this. Okay. So as you can see, we are having like user ID. For every user, we are having original date and we are having previous date as well. So for the very first date, since we don't have previous date, so it is like basically returning null for that, right? So now we got like current date and we got previous date as well, right? Now can I say this thing, if I'll do a difference between these two, I will be able to get like how many number of days like after how many number of days that user came back to the platform, right? So for that, what I'm doing over here is I will use date diff, right? Which will basically be able to calculate difference between two dates. I will use day as a parameter because since I need day, right? We need difference between these two columns, right? So I'm using the entire query over here, lag, right? And I will use the original date as well. Okay. So now, and let me just quickly give this as alias as date diff, right? Now let's run this and let's see like what will be our output. Yeah. So as you can see, basically we got like date difference or like a number of days between these two like dates over here, right? Now, can I say this thing? Like wherever we are having like one as a date difference, right? Basically, can I say this thing? That particular user, let's say we can take an example of this particular user, right? So for this, is the like date difference is one. So can I say this thing? This particular user came to the platform um, in a consecutive days, right? So this particular user came on 8th as well and as well as on 9th, right? Similarly, for this particular use case, right? So basically, user came on first, then user came on second as well, right? Uh, so can I say this thing? Wherever we are getting date difference as one, probably those records will be the consecutive records, right? So, and let's say over here, right? So basically date difference is 23, right? So after 23 days, that particular user came back to the platform, right? So for this particular use case, like this particular record will not justify our problem, right? So for that, can I say this thing? Wherever we have like date difference as one, those records will be the consecutive records, right? Also, wherever we are getting null, right? So basically for null, we don't have any other previous record, right? So like that particular case or that particular date will be on that particular date, basically user came back for the very first time on the platform, right? So over here, we can consider that as well as a consecutive day, right? Because like we don't have previous history for that particular date, right? So I mean, like this particular concept will completely depended upon the business use case, right? But in a generic form, I'm taking this as well over here, right? So I mean, like this could be my CTE over here. So I will give this as CTE. So I will use with let's give it as consecutive days, right? And this will be my CTE, right? Now, from this, uh, can I say this thing? Uh, let's take maximum date from this and minimum date from this, right? So basically, maximum date will be my start date. Maximum date will be my end date. Minimum date will be my start date, right? And let's say if I will do count of all these cases, right? Wherever we are having like date difference as null or one, probably I will get like number of days or like number of users who were active for more than like three or more consecutive days, right? Let me just quickly show you like what I meant to say. So for that, I'm using user ID, right? And apart from that, I will take minimum of date, right? This I will consider as start date, right? Similarly, I will take max as well, which will act as my end date, right? Um, yeah, so basically on the basis of user ID, what I'm doing over here is I will take minimum date and maximum date. Both of these will act as my start date and end date, right? I have to take this from consecutive days table, right? Since we were interested just for like date difference one and null records, so I will filter it out where day diff, day diff, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so day diff is equal to one or day diff is null, right? Now, since we are doing aggregation over here, so what we have to do, we have to basically do group by as well. So group by of what? Group by of user ID. Okay. Now let's run this and let me just show you how our output will look like. Or let's take this day diff column as well. Okay. And let's take this ddiff in group 5. Okay, so yeah, let's run this and let me just show you what will be our output. Okay, I think, okay, so basically this lag we were basically using for demonstration purpose. Let me just remove this because we were already having a date diff column available over here, right? So now let's run this once again. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, we have user IDs, we have daydiff, where we have like null or either null or one, and we are having start date and end date as well, right? Now, basically what we have to do, can I say this thing? If I will do a count of these, right? If I will do count of these, and let's say count of these are equal to or more than 3, because in the problem statement what we have to do, we have to basically fetch all those users. So these are basically all those users who were basically active on a platform for consecutive days, right? Now we have to basically fetch all those users who were active on a platform for 3 or more consecutive days, right? So for that, can I say this thing? If I will do a count of this, right? If I will do a count of this, and if I will restrict my output for more than or equal to 3 days, I will be able to solve this particular problem, right? So let me just show you what I meant to say. So for that, what I'm doing over here is I will do count star, right? As, and let me just, or probably we can say it as like count date diff. We can count this as well, or let's take star. Both of these will be same, right? So I will use consecutive days, right? And what we have to do, basically we have to restrict this for more than or equal to 3 days, right? As part of the problem statement, right? So for that, what I will do, I will use having, right? Because I have to basically fetch aggregation level condition, or like I have to basically filter aggregation level condition. So for that, as we know, we have to use having, right? So we are having count star is greater than or equal to 3, right? Now let me just remove this date diff because this I have used just to showcase like what we are getting as part of this. Now let me just run this and we'll show you how, like, what will be our output look like. Yeah, so as you can see, basically user ID 1 and user ID 4, right? Both of these are users basically who were active on a platform for 3 or more consecutive days, right? And we are getting start date and end date as well for these two users, right? So yeah, that's all from my side. I hope you got to learn something new from this particular use case. Thank you one and all. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.